Hey, everybody, Off the Mic Sports Network here. Another edition of Off the Top Rope. So, again, it was a big weekend of professional wrestling. You had Saturday night's main event on Saturday. You obviously had the dueling pay per views going on, premium live events going on at the same time with WWE Battleground going right up against Double or Nothing. Um, I want to talk about. I've talked about it a lot on this channel and in this segment about tribalism. Because my God, it's gotten out of control. It's been out of control for a while, but it got way out of hand over the weekend because um listen, whether you like WWE, whether you like AEW, it's fine. Listen, like I'm more critical of AEW because I think they could be doing better given the talent base that they have. They had a really good show, even though the build was terrible. NXT, you should have low expectations because a lot of their talent pool is made up of former AEW outcasts, but also a lot of developmental people, and their women's division is exceptional. It really is. Like they had there were two outstanding women's matches on Double or Nothing. There was two outstanding women's matches on Battleground. But one thing that I've gotten really tired of, and I think maybe this is why I push back a lot more on AEW than I do on WWE, is because a lot of AEW fans get really, really annoying in trying to push the narrative that their company is better than WWE. Because at least with WWE, they come at you with metrics like television ratings and, money, revenue, even if, they're overcharging for their events. They don't go at you with the star ratings, but they come at you with the attendance, the ratings, the revenue, and the merchandise sales that they're doing. And they obviously have an incredible talent base, specifically their women's division, which I think has come to the forefront in the last year or two, specifically what's going on in NXT and what they've been able to do. Like, so much so that, like, stars like Roxanne Perez and Julia was barely in NXT for a cup of coffee. She's already on the main roster. Like, the level of talent of women have. But anyway, it's just what I get driven crazy because all I was hearing we'll go back to Saturday night's main event. The number one complaint that I saw, first of all, the advertisements, and I was very critical of that. I hate these Twitter accounts who will be like wait times and like, how much actual wrestling there was. You have to be a really mega loser to be behind your keyboard and get out a stopwatch and time wrestling. If you like one thing, that's great. If you don't like another thing, that's great. But then comes Cagematch. Cagematch, a fan-led website where people are reviewing shows. Like, I understand if you want to look at Dave Meltzer's star ratings, although Dave Meltzer sunk all of his credibility in the last several years because he's basically been in the pocket of Tony Khan for the last 6 years, which is, whatever. It's fine. Okay. You want to sell your soul to like, a wrestling promoter because you want to get inside information with Tony Khan. That's totally fine. That's your prerogative. I mean, I grew up in the journalism business. I was educated in it. I'm not going to sell out like that. So Dave Meltzer, you can do whatever you want. But to Cagematch specifically, if you're one of these idiots who is going to flash up a graphic of a Cagematch rating of Saturday night's main event and putting it up against Double or Nothing, if that's your rationale of why your company is better than the other, you need to go get a real job. You need to go outside, go get some sun, go to the beach, go do something else, because you clearly have lost all sight of reality in terms of what it means to be a professional wrestling fan. And this is why tribalism fucking drives me insane, because you guys can maybe push the narrative that somehow I'm, anti one way or the other. One of the biggest reasons why I push back on AEW is because they lean so much into these nonsensical metrics that mean absolute jack shit. Cagematch is not a way to grade professional wrestling. If you like AEW and that's for you, that's fine. That's fine. Sometimes it's not for me. That's why this is an opinion. That's why I do this segment. But if you're going to push something to me and say, yeah, this is a great show because this got a 5.9 and on Cagematch, and Saturday night's main event got like a 3.2. What? Since when did we start grading wrestling matches and wrestling shows like they're fucking earthquakes? What what has happened to this community? Like, I feel like like, we all know that, like, society, because we're all in the political sphere, everybody's divided here. It's kind of just, sprinkled into the pro wrestling sphere and the IWC because so many people are just not grounded in reality. Like, ticket sales and, watchability and people tuning in, those are the metrics that matter. And AEW fans are just trying to use these other things that mean jack shit to try and rationalize that their company is doing okay. You had a great show on Sunday. Congratulations. But using that as a metric and then going to Cagematch and saying, "Oh yeah, this is a great show. Saturday night's main event sucked." Guess what? You guys were charging $50 for that Double or Nothing show. Battleground was on Peacock. Saturday night's main event was on NBC. You should be delivering that type of a show. And rather than just dunking on WWE because they are not having the greatest year that they possibly could, even though they're making money, and there are flaws and there are problems within WWE that I'm starting to see that I don't like, but it's not Vince McMahon. And I just think sometimes AEW sickos and their fan base are so caught up in, oh, this match was so much better than this match. And, I need to show this number and I need to screen grab something from Cagematch or I need to screen grab something from Dave Meltzer. If you like it, that's fine. That's totally fine. Sometimes people think that like I rip it because I just don't like it. And, one of my biggest critiques with AEW is some of their decision making is baffling to me. What they've done with their women's division is inexcusable. I get it. You wanted to do Mercedes Moné versus Toni Storm. It didn't have to come to that. And, having your TBS champion win a tournament to determine who was going to be the number one contender for the world championship at All In, that's not a good decision. But you know what? On some level, I get it from a business perspective. You're trying to sell tickets, and that's a money match. But don't go at me and just try to show me the cage match rating and just tell me, oh, this was so much better than Zelina Vega and Chelsea Green on Saturday night's main event. Get a fucking life. Seriously. Like I've seen so much of cage match in the last 6, 9, 12 months. And I'm like, I didn't even know this fucking website existed. And I saw this so much after, Double or Nothing. And I was like, yeah, even with the lackluster build, Double or Nothing was a fucking great show. It was a good show. Battleground was a good show too. Saturday night's main event was, average, but it was a made-for-TV special. It was basically a house show. People just completely neglect context and try to push their own narratives in this community. And it's annoying. It's really annoying because at a certain point, it's just like, hey, can't we all just have our own opinions out here? Like, you guys can come at me and say that I'm wrong about stuff. But if your rationale behind it is to go to like an arbitrary number from a site that I've never fucking heard of, you really need to go get a life. So again, I thought it was a great weekend for professional wrestling. There were some questionable things that happened throughout the weekend, but it was fun. At the end of the day, that should be what it's about. But sometimes I just see people barking at each other and just complaining about the most nonsensical shit whatsoever. And then just trying to rationalize this show was better than this one. And this one was better than that one. And sometimes I do that because I truly believe that. But I give you guys my opinions. You guys try to come up with these freaking nonsensical things that just absolutely mean nothing. Everybody's allowed to have an opinion in this committee. But if you're going to back it up with like some metric and something that doesn't mean jack shit, you have no credibility whatsoever. And this is why, like I said, I get really annoyed with the AEW fan base because a large chunk of it comes from that side. Because you don't see WWE fans referencing cage match. You don't see that. Unless, of course, they're barking right back at AEW people, which, tit for tat. I'm not usually a very big fan of that, but it's just, guys, y'all need to grow up. Seriously. And I know some of you are going to come at me saying, Mike, why are you doing this? You're doing all these videos. You're pumping these things out. Guys, I have a computer. I'm allowed to have an opinion. I have a platform. I'm grateful for a lot of you who support me. And, even the ones that get in my comments who are, like inherently just like trying to troll me, I appreciate you too, because at least you want to, at least share your comments in me, even if you don't agree with me. But at least come at me with some facts, or come at me with some information that actually means something, before you actually, try to bark at me and try to act like I'm some sort of fucking idiot and some sort of mark. Okay. So, anyway, just needed to get that off my chest, because like this was driving me crazy late Sunday night and early into Monday morning. And throughout the day, I just was like, guys, what are we doing? Come on, be better. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I will see you guys soon. Bye bye.